gave you that freedom to be dumbfounded? Pronouncing that who ate the finger for the hands of the marriage and married the age that agitated for the virgins, their brothers, for the apostles, the posts, the books, that the news feed, the Facebook, for the literate, for the rates, the stars that gave them a freedom for them to be dumbfounded again, forgot the forefathers, forgetting to entitle that for the authors who read it to thee, who lied to them silently in libraries rarely exposed to the light. Righteousness unless it was meaningful enough for the less, vengeance and forgiveness and forgave the gratitude for the height. Your latitude levitated, legitate for the illuminating, for the illumination and illuminati, for the Nazis of the Germans and the Germans and double men pictures and made the divine struck for the lightning striking, every man for the aviations of the plane, landing and traveling, transport the transgressions, the grievous of the dead man's for the hangman and that penis and the penetrating the vaginal canals and boating, for the trouble for the daughters of the waters of the confiding. Conducts of behavior patterns and that can be behind those bees and the hinder for the hives and those trees that treat them according to the patriarchy of the icons. The libraries rarely spoken about the truth, spoken out the mouths of them for the spoke for these retirees, the wretched, beautiful, the retrieving the grievance, and after the morning pills of the pillars of the villages and age of witches for the ignorance, erasing no tournament for the dormant. It meant to be rare at the scales, those ways of judgments. Court the heavens gates of things to gators, the lower for the whore, the court, the folk, the courtship. Sinking the countertops and counterfeiting benefits to be obedience and unobeying the penalties, and the penalties is tie that race to the finish lines and lineage. Eager to win that whenever it diminishes the ashes degrades in the cemetery, the commentary, the terror, the own, the scalefish, fish, and nets, and that to the cats and embarrassment. Your bar graphs that prison for the crystallization, the separate enough for the any rate for the agenda, the age of generous and segregated for the season segment. Segregating culture for the occultists. Tilled the plants and lent the acid eastern. Serialism for the oath, for off the road for the drive, for the motivation and motives, and generosity for the velocity of cities, and corrosive and animosity and catastrophic trophies in the cell. Case to ease wisely, ease that pain pictures. Easily sit a little and give them interest of 100 breaks a days and ash straight for the astronomers and daily heights. Heisman trophy, trophy wisely. I myself do nothing. I am nothing without my Lord. Always to be ready to speak the mind, and the base man will avoid you. Energy is an eternal delight, and I must create a system to be enslaved by another man. I myself to do nothing, but the Holy Spirit accomplishes all through me. The innocence dwells with wisdom, and never with the ignorance. It is easier to forgive an enemy than to forgive a friend. Love seeks that not itself to please, but for itself to any care. And you have that for the giving of the ease and the building of heavens and hell's despair. I understand no bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings. Who sees that eagle without for the portion of genius and lifting up the head? As I walked among those fires, delighted with the enjoyment of genius, in which the angels looked for the torment and insanity, and collected some of the proverbs and said, that love is the thing to become, and love is not the thing to understand, and this is only the thing to feel, and this is the thing to give and receive, for the love is the thing to only become and eternally be. Although my first friendship was the muse, I could find myself amused quite often, leading the eye and seeing the golden wings and smiling enough for the inner rays and the longings and the nature that's old enough for the vital in the mind, for the sun to be unplumbed, for the love for the thoughts, the seed to be loved, to blind. I seek to see. Don't kidnap my heart, I humble pray. Mine is the life. You must not die for the no man to mourn, for these to tell the will to kneel for the one, the mind light. Goal is the air of the grave. Eyeless to desires to die for the eye together for the living, the human souls that be mopping the mind, famish those hearts and bind my height. My love divine. The inner race is between me and inner me, and remains to be unseen for yet every hope of mine. The solace and divine, my sorrow none to share for the soul of me to care. I have lost that inner race. Nowhere shall I see the face, not even my own. My nature is too old for our old thoughts. Nothing is sweet but bitter at all for these to be the world, but it's made for our thoughts and better make it negative. You can find that shade. You can find the seed. I am the seed that roots those in. I am the aspiration to the tree. Enemy abides to deepest and deep, and my goal to build, and I am forever be free. My secret observes of life and the hidden treasure that I find, share with the earth, the sickness and the find it now to breathe. For her, my freedom fast, my birth. Love is to become. My heart shall be as pure as Aurora's tears, and my wild vital much changes volcano choices to have my golden thoughts in my heart. Not to be in vain, in me the ecstasy of a voice. Although I try, cry, sigh, but all in vain. My bleeding heart, I need the eye. I need the eye that sees that for the lives, the present, the future, and the past, and no doubt for the side, that for the statements, and my missions in the sky. My vital, my old mind. Inside that field of thorns, am I defining what to grasp with this to be the child for the drowsy mind, for the daily, for the fettered by ignorance and blind, and I can't be. I don't want to see it. I will be blind too. Be as free as Jesus wept. Some should pray while others slept and dreamt. While the wealth of while they debt. It was a debate for the rebuttal, the rebate. God is a fish while human bait. Decimal to decide. Whether or not the fate has debate for the rather. Sooner than lunar. Enough for who waited for the gates to agitated. Reanimated for the reannouncing is smaller as anticipated for the according to the citadel for the citation provided for the pronunciations anticipated for the faith for those who were jaded enough for the elements that could be graduated debated enough for the deputized. A deputy deported for the evaluated for the patients as waiters whom were waited enough for the infatuated with the white flats and high rises to be deflated enough for the defeated and not the ground profound enough to declare it as an MC with no announcement and who could say the word for the light to be the Christ with the pronouncements. Who meant to eat the meant like the rich environment that was sent to be the selfish as a fisherman. Dish out the content. The continent for the what the earnest discernment for the Torah, and that was always shocked by the shockers. An abandonment for the abandoned. That was a band that was sent to the abolish, and the apprehension that was lent to them like a Jew in a holiday for the Hebrew that was cheered to be the bread of the east, and that the toes of him to share the daily bread for the abolish, for the emblem for the unembedded, for the embellishment, for that was meant for him to be the songs and not to him that deliver that harmony that want to harm him and carry that cross the body, for no spirit that would carry him across the hairs and decent. Hair the stare, the bear for the rare. Enough for the stake, I could care bear for the folly. You couldn't pay the price to the quarter to count it for the fair prayers and bear to crosshairs and naysayers and lay that lie next to him in an adolescent but the smell, the sin of him fragile. That fermentation that agitated the fruit to labor for the crew that hate upon him. They must leave that lead for the honor, the pencil for the lead for the councilman. The countryman, despise who's higher than the contraband that denied the refuse. Refuse energy that refuse him together for the coordination that cordially died. That numerology that can remember that I can be the addition for the holy man, but the scene for the holy ground aligned and not the need for the body grounds and the waiting for the hindrance that I can be the village as an H. Who's the Instagram for this to be the who's to find the man for the photographs of this be the way for the contraceptive and yo. Who ever slept and not born again? Who's the shepherd that who's she's due to be parted for the embarking of the tree of life, and who's the son of the aboriginal for the Abraham Hamner? You go find that same to the fame for those who lost. Jerusalem, Salam, the interior motives that motivated me to decide that for the Bethlehem, to synonymous synonym for the synonyms of the tree of life and the acronyms in the body for the son of a man's sons that have radiated alleviation of allegations and given him the no nots to know about it. Knows of art who's crucible enough to crumble before him and misled the aftermath and trailed by the Trader Joseph. Trader Joseph dreaded those Negroes with attitudes. The additional contrast of labels and fables and peers and sentences and signs of times and syllables of the cane for divine that able for the abilities to remain in steeples and fearless life for the teachers of people and not hiding behind those. The pulpits, holy church talk to fruit, the torment of the jungle juice that was fermented foggy enough to hallucinate. Your supernatural experience will expire after the trail dry. What else can I say? Why would I say anything before I do? It was those supernatural experiences inspired before them 12 tribes had a chance to find the truth for the conspiracies and lie between those lines, between the believing and the little and the big man under the sun. I can find that big up. The him and the green giant and form the rest and find it within the season forest and the fountain men, the 8 men, and the old men, and those the forefathers forgave them. We got the kings, they got that. Thrones are stagnant. We find them looking to hide the spirit, inspired retirement. Mentally they enslaved the environment. Teaches to track back to the vitamin. Close to the stems that yellow crowds to behold that pale Caucasian, to behold the pale horseman to walk across that track, playing horsing around like earth has Mars. Martians immortalized to the baptism of John the Baptist understood for the circumstances of the water being maybe the water, the fishy tails of the wings and the ferry, and then for the fly by for the gnats and brigade, pick up and then for the Helios. Helicopters, overhead, game man, the ocean beings, those who heat the ground, the captains, punishment, the circuit justice and deportation, the minorities that ice that enslavement. Reinforce the reinforcement, return to the Jedi, and maybe the blind, them teach the PG folks, the teachers that for the preacher, those are themes to templates, the prayer to the temple. Them kind men that contemplate the full fulfillment for the embellishing the selfish and the emblems of refugees that dumb out their wise and ways and eyes and wisdom for the conundrums and beat that for the one for the be the veterans and victimize the idols and idiots and idolize those who would stand for the soft and idolize the table, the elements that were desensitized. Those being advanced the confused and the confident for the security, the insecure man for the sinister peers, each paragraph to show them for the record. Find precedent after the wrinkle and iron and sleeping the other rapper. Google suggestion the emperors and the highness and liking. Instagram incidents, students with them bars and grip the hands of generations and generate gentrifying the divine outcomes and coming inside of the impregnated nations and finding the generation is generally rallying up the raptors. Reptilians until the soul to find and cultivated for the underneath them for the permanently manipulated for the mandated for the Gregorian calendar to find the breed. American spy for the polygraph test and we studied that for the Mandela for the mandates and manipulation, the graphic cuties and the new with the leader ones and colors and flags and flagrant enough for the rending and chance and honor him, enhancing man to hang man with those ready for the question and marks aside. Hey now, hallucinations and Satans. He's horny and hello in the comments, the man. The woman to bystand by, women to walk the sidewalks and sign the cements and gravesites to see the womanizing the wombs, the labor to hollow the hearts and holiday for the ease and guarding the fruits and those who trick the sensation, the eating the reasons, trees and seasons of those and stories, histories, version of King James and the Cavaliers. He trade for the transport for the traditional karma for the commuter to drive them hoes to the hitch, hike the trailer for the move them to the kill the graves. That name of the stones and the stoners and the height and the reconstruction, the building, the carpenters of Christ and justice, the higher man and highest of the iCloud. Shadows above them for the dark and the pigs and pigmentation, legislator for the latitudes and latest and legislator for this to be the government for the imports, them for the being forced to him to incline the Plymouth Rock. That cock for the pants, for the ladder for the maids, for the briefcase of the men and breeds and beads of the judge and them. That authority for the authors and reading rancid left those parties to the bipartisan. The Fedge and the Ephesians and feeding the Red Sea that read. Read the rights of those left-handed for the amputees. That shirt, the chastising your neck, your breastfeeding the formula that was formed to hate against that man for the shit and promise to the path, the parodies of the parole. Circumstances circulate the circular rows. That roll out that multiple rows of models and these and modules and municipalities and anomalies and then monopolize those currencies to fret and fake the money for the board, the game, the dice, that comparison, the unison, the unity, unite that for the ambiguity, intrigue that for the integrity, for the creation of the city, for the jurisdiction to describe those definitions, ignite about a living person that cast spells before them. Indent those creators for the DJ, for the letters, for not for the monopolies, for the moon, for the anomalies, and apologize for the infinity. Infinity defenses and the borderlines of them for the pages of the nouns, pronouncing the hate that figure for the hands of the memories and Mary hate. It was agitated for the emergency problem. Causes the post support, news feed for Facebook for the little race and starts for giving them freedom for the beat down. Say it.
Who gave you that freedom to be dumbfounded? Pronouncing that, who ate the finger for the hands of the marriage and married the age that agitated for the virgins, the brothers, and the apostles, the posts, the books, that the newsfeed, the Facebook for the literate, for the rates, the stars that gave them freedom to be dumbfounded again, forgot the forefathers, forgiveness and entitled that for the authors who read it to be, who lied to them silently in libraries rarely exposed to the light. The righteous, unless it was meaningful enough for the less, vengeance and forgiveness and forgave the gratitude for the height. Your latitude levitated, legitate for the illuminating, for the illumination and illuminati, for the Nazis to the Germans, and the Germans and double men pictures and made divine struck for the lightning striking every man for the aviations of a plane, landing and traveling transport the transgressions, and grievous of the dead man for the hangman and that penis and the penetrating the vaginal canals and boating, but the trouble for the daughters in the water to the dividing. Conducts of behavior patterns and that could be behind those bees, and the hinder for the hives and those trees that treat them according to the patriarch of the archive. These libraries rarely spoken about the truth, spoken out the bounds of them for the spoken of these retirees to the retributed for the retrieving, the grievances, and after the morning deals of the pillars of the villages and Asian witches when the ignorance of racing their tournament for the dormant. It meant to be rare at the scales, those ways of judgments. Court the heavens gates with thanks to gators and lower for the war, the court the folk, the courtship. Sinking the countertops and counterfeiting with the fits of the beat, obedience and unobeying the penalties, and the penalties of tie that race to the finish lines and lineage. Eager to win that whenever it diminishes the ashes degrades in the cemetery with the commentary of the terror their own discovered fish and nets and after the gods and embarrassment. Your bar graphs that prison for the crystallization is separate enough for the any rate for the agenda. The age of generous is segregated for the season cycle. Segregated culture for the occultists. Chilled the plants and lent the to eastern. Serialism for the oath, for off the road, for the drive, for the motivation and motives, and generosity for the velocity of cities and corrosive and animosity and catastrophic trophies in the self. Case of ease. Wisely ease with that paint pictures. Easily sit a little to give the members to the pound of breezy days and ashtray for the astronomers of the deity heights. Heisman Trophy, trying to run the weather, but the trophy is wisely envy.
Be as free as Jesus. Be as free as Jesus wept. Some should pray while others slept and dreamt. While the wealth while they debt. It was a debate for the rebuttal, the rebate. God is a fish by a human bait. Decimal to decide. Whether or not the fate has debate for the rather. Sooner than lunar. Enough who waited for the gates that agitated. Reanimated for the reannouncing is smaller is anticipated for the according to that the citadel for the citation provided for the renunciations anticipated for the faith for those who were jaded enough for the elements that could be graduated debated enough for the deputized. A deputy deported for the evaluated, for the patients as waiters of whom who waited enough for the infatuated with the white flats and high rise, the deflated enough for the defeated and not the ground profound enough to declare it as an MC with no announcement and groups to say the word for the light to be the Christ with the pronouncements. Who meant to eat the mint like the rich environment that was sent to be the selfish as a fisher. Dish out the contempt. The continent for the what, the earnest, the discernment for the Torah, and that was all shot by the shockers. Abandonment for the abandoned, that was the band that was sent to the abolishing the apprehension that was lent to them like a Jew in the holiday for the Hebrew that was cheered to be the bread, the yeast, and that chose of him to share the daily bread for the polish, for the emblem, for the unembedded, for the embellishment, for that was meant for him to be the songs and not to him that deliver that harmony that want to harm him and carry that cross without able to no spirit that would carry him across the hairs and decent hair, the stare, the bear for the rare, enough for the stake out the care bear for the folly. Couldn't pay the price of the quarter to counting for the fair prayers and bear through crosshairs and naysayers and lay that lie next to him, but an adolescent but a smell. The sin of him fragile. That fermentation that agitated the fruits of labor for the grew that hate upon him. The must lead that lead for the under the pencil for the lead for the councilman. Countryman, despise who's higher than the contraband that denied the refuse. Refuse energy to refuse him together for the coordination that cordially died. That numerology that can remember the it could be the addition for the holy man, but the scene for the holy ground align and not the need for the body grounds and the waiter for the him instead. I can be the village just an H. Who's the Instagram for this to be the who's to find the man for the phonograph so this be the way for the contraception of the contraception. Yo. Slept and not born again. Who's the shepherd that who she's usually parted for the embarking of the tree of life? And who's the son of the aboriginal for the Abraham Hamlin? You can find the saints of the fame for those who lost. Jerusalem, Salam, interior motives that motivated to decide that for the Bethlehem to sit down in the center of the synonyms for the tree of life and the acronyms in the body for the son of a man, sons have abbreviated alleviation of allegations and given him the no nots to know enough. Noah's of art, who's crucible enough to crumble before him and misled that aftermath and trailed by the traitor Joseph. Trader Joe's and dreaded those Negroes with attitudes. The additional contrast of labels and fables and peers and sentences and signs of times and syllables that became for the mind not able for the abilities to remain in steeples and feeless life for the teachers and people who are not hiding behind them. Pulpits, holy church talk, the fruit, the torment of the jungle juice that was fermented foggy enough to hallucinate. Your supernatural experience expired in the trail tribes. Be as free as Jesus wept.
Be as free as Jesus wept.
Be as free as Jesus wept. Some should pray while others slept and dreamt. While the wells of wild lay deaf. It was a debate for the rebuttal, the rebate.